If you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy, Seattle probably looks like this rainy, romantic city where every street feels like a movie scene. But behind the camera, there are 13 things about living here, but the show doesn't tell you. So today I'm walking you through every one of them. All right, number one, high cost of living and utility bills. The first thing in Seattle that catches people by surprise is not the rent or the mortgage. The city is expensive across the board and those costs stack up fast. Overall, the cost of living here is around 45% higher than the national average. Your groceries alone run about 11% above the rest of the country. Healthcare costs more, and in 2025, it ranked as the most expensive city in the country for takeout food. Just yesterday, I had takeout from my favorite Korean restaurant in Capitol Hill, just 2 dishes, bibimbap and Korean tofu soup, and with a 15% tip, it was $50. Now, when you add up water, sewer, and trash, and $249 for electricity for a typical single-family home, the costs pile up. And combined sales tax sits just over 10%, which is one of the highest rates in the country. So, if you're building a budget for a move to Seattle, give yourself more room than you think. The cost of living here shows up in places people don't always plan for. But the daily cost is only one piece of the puzzle. The income side is where this gets more complicated. Number two, the tech-heavy job market is a double-edged sword. When it comes to jobs, tech is big here, but the same industry that built Seattle's wealth is also the one making the job market feel a little shaky right now. The Seattle Metro is home to 17 Fortune 500 companies, including Amazon, Microsoft, Costco, and Starbucks. That is a serious amount of economic power for a city this size. And recent AI changes have led to layoffs and uncertainty at Amazon and Microsoft. Together, those two companies have cut more than 46,000 jobs since 2023. And it's not just software. Starbucks, the company that helped put Seattle on the map for coffee culture, is cutting jobs as well and opening a new operations office in Nashville, Tennessee. There is a bright side to this. Seattle still has one of the strongest talent pools in the world. That's why companies still want to be here. Anthropic, the company behind the Claude AI chatbot, is negotiating a 120,000 square foot expansion in South Lake Union right now as of May 2026. Biotech, space companies, and startups are also funded and growing. And Stoke Space, a launch company near Seattle, raised $260 million in early 2025. So if you are in tech, Seattle is still one of the best places on earth to build a career. The ride is bumpier than it used to be, but the ecosystem is still here. The economic power is part of what pushed housing into a category of its own. So quick note before we move on, if you're relocating to Seattle and trying to figure out which side of the lake fits your budget and your commute, that's the kind of decision I help my clients work through every week. Almost 900 people we've helped over the years. My contact info is in the description below. Reach out. Now back to the video. All right, number 3, single family homes under $1 million are rare. Northwest MLS data showed the King County median single family home price landed somewhere in the low 1 million range. And that is the fact that stops most out-of-state clients cold. When you include condos and townhomes, the overall median drops into the high 800s. But inside the city of Seattle itself, the median detached single-family home has crossed 7 figures. Bellevue and most of the east side are above 7 figures too. Where you can afford to buy and where you can commute from are 2 different maps. The nuance here is that King County is big, so prices change fast depending on where you look. If you're willing to go farther south, places like Renton, Kent, parts of Federal Way can still have homes in the low 600s to mid 700s. Condos and townhomes open up more options across the metro too, but the core areas stay competitive. Desirable homes in strong neighborhoods are still pulling multiple offers and going pending in about 7 to 12 days. So if you're moving here expecting a charming detached craftsman and a walkable Seattle neighborhood for $700,000, the math doesn't work anymore. A Seattle house in a great neighborhood is easily a $1 million+ conversation. So affording the home is one thing, and living with the daily commute from that home is another. Leads us to number 4, traffic is brutal. In Seattle, you can see your office across the water from your front porch, and it can still take you 45 minutes to get there in the morning. The city ranks as the 10th most congested city in the US. The average driver loses about 68 hours a year sitting in delays. That's almost 3 full days of your life. And part of this is geography. Seattle sits on an isthmus, with Puget Sound on one side, Lake Washington on the other, so the roads are squeezed from both sides. But the bridge situation is where this gets tough. State Route 520 and I-90 both cross Lake Washington as floating bridges, and those bridges create the bottlenecks that turn short drives into long commutes. And when we get to the outdoor culture fact later, you'll see how it shapes your weekends too, not just your work days. So this is why you're commuting across the bridges drives where my clients buy. The Seattle versus East Side equation, which almost every relocating buyer asks me about, that is a traffic question first and a lifestyle question second. But the big upgrade is the East Link. The two-line light rail officially opened across Lake Washington on March 28, 2026. So if you're working downtown or in downtown Seattle and you want to live in Bellevue, Mercer Island, or Redmond, you can skip the bridge. This is a game changer for East Side buyers. My two best buddies who live on the East Side had never rode the light rail before. They did for the USA Australia World Cup game and were amazed how easy it was, even though it was the busiest day ever for the two-line. So plan your neighborhood around your commute, not the other way around. That's one of the smartest things you can do before you sign anything, because that's what creates long-term satisfaction. All right, enough about commuting and traffic. Now there's something visible in the city you'll notice the moment you arrive, and we need to talk about it directly. Number 5, homelessness is highly visible. The homelessness in Seattle is visible, especially near downtown and along certain main roads. You'll see encampments in the specific parts of the city. It's part of the daily experience in some areas. And any honest conversation about Seattle has to say that out loud. The key thing is that it's concentrated. It does not feel the same across the whole city. You may be vacationing here, spend an entire week here and not see a homeless person. So it can be very concentrated. But places like Capitol Hill feel different from Bellevue. The East Side suburbs see much less of the street level reality you'll run into downtown. So where you live changes what you see day to day. However, it's real, visible, and you should know that before you move here. Don't let it define the whole city for you before you've actually seen the whole city. An example is the World Cup. So many visitors came here and nothing but positive feedback was given. Now, moving into something that affects every single person moving here, no matter which neighborhood you choose. Number 6, changing taxes. For decades, the state of Washington had a clear pitch, no income tax, but now it comes with an asterisk. For a lot of people, that is still true. Washington does not have a broad state income tax, and that's still a major draw for high earners moving from California or the Northeast. But the state passed a 9.9% millionaires tax, which starts January 1st, 2028 for households earning more than $1 million a year. Washington has also had a 7% capital gains tax on gains over roughly $270,000. And if your capital gains are over $1 million, there's an extra 2.9% surtax, bringing the top rate to 9.9%. Then inside the city of Seattle, you've got the Jumpstart payroll tax that hits large businesses with payrolls over $7 million, specifically taxing wages paid to employees earning over $150,000 a year at rates of 0.7 to 2.4%. Keep this in mind for the contractor costs coming up in a few minutes, because the tax math and the maintenance math can hit the same budget. Now this millionaire's tax is up for debate. It is passed, but there are a lot of lobbyists happening against it, so we'll see what happens. Now the property taxes jumped about 17% in 2026 because assessed values caught up with the strong 2024 market. That's what's unusual about our property taxes here. They're often very delayed. So in a rising market, you may go, oh my gosh, my property taxes are great, they're much lower. But a couple years later, they will catch up. A typical Seattle median home now carries about a $7,300 annual tax bill with an effective rate around 0.82%. So yes, the no income tax pitch is still mostly true, but the math is moving for high earners and large employers. If you're in either category, build this into your move calculation now, not after you close. Now there is a Seattle reality you'll feel in your bones, not your wallet. Most people get it wrong. Number 7, yes, the gloom is real, but the rain is overrated. Seattle's pictured as this rainy place, but that's what people get wrong about the weather around here. It's not about how much rain we get. The city gets about 39 inches of rain a year, which is close to the national average, way less than New York, Atlanta, and Miami. The rain spreads across 152 days a year, and a lot of it comes as a steady, light drizzle. You're not getting soaked every day, getting gently damp for months, hit daily by 1,000 raindrops. The hardest part is the light. Seasonal affective disorder rates here are among the highest in the country. Above 25% of Washingtonians report mood changes during the darker months, and about 6 to 8% deal with serious seasonal depression. Now the upside is that the climate is mild in a way most places can't match. Winters sit in the mid-40s, summers sit in the 70s with no humidity. As I'm shooting this, it is 77 out today in July, perfect weather. So we have no brutal winters, no hurricanes, no tornadoes. Plus, from July through September, Seattle shines. You've got long golden evenings that go until 10 p.m., mountains visible from all over the city, and air that feels clean and easy. You will smell it when you step off the plane here. So the rain probably won't flood your street, but the gray can work on your mood from November through April. So how do you solve this issue? You plan a sunshine vacation in this stretch to ease the pain. So speaking of those summer months, there's a newer problem that can wipe them out fast. Number 8, wildfire smoke is the new summer threat. A large number of people moving to Seattle worry about earthquakes, but the thing that disrupts daily life almost every year now is smoke. It's only for a brief period of time, but it is here. Late summer wildfires from eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and British Columbia can blow smoke right into the city, and this is happening almost every summer now. 2025 was no exception. We had a major smoke event on September 5th that created unhealthy air north and east of Seattle. The smoke can erase 1 to 3 weeks of the best weather of the year. August and September are Seattle's perfect months. They're warm, dry, and golden, but smoke can wipe that out and send everyone indoors. So if you're buying a home, this should be part of your search. You've got to think about indoor air filtration. Look for homes with a good HVAC setup or a HEPA system can make a real difference. If the home doesn't have that, just budget for the upgrade. If it's not possible, no worries. Don't get crazy about it. It's generally a short enough time that you can manage around it. All right, the physical environment is one thing. The social environment is where many transplants struggle. Number 9, the infamous Seattle freeze. Another thing that Grey's Anatomy makes look easy is making friends, but the reality is different. And it even has a name, the Seattle freeze. People here are polite and friendly. They'll help you if your car breaks down, but they're also reserved. So you may get a nice conversation, but not necessarily the invite after. That's the part that throws people off. Making a close friend group can take years, especially if you're coming from the East Coast or the Midwest, where social life tends to move faster. Here's one solution, get a dog. My friend Kerry walks his dog every day, and somehow he knows everybody in the neighborhood. Find your recurring place, a hiking group, a climbing gym, a neighborhood trivia night, dog ownership, local events you show up to every week. That repeated context gives people a reason to see you again. So give yourself a 12 to 24 month period before you decide Seattle is not friendly. The warmth is here, it just takes longer to show up than what you may be used to. And there's one kind of recurring context that opens the doors to Seattle's social life more than almost anything else. Number 10, if you don't like the outdoors, you'll hate the culture here. One fact I tell every client moving here, the outdoors is not just a hobby in Seattle, it's how this city works socially. And most of them don't believe me until they've lived through their first year. Within 30 to 90 minutes of downtown, you can get to Mount Si and Rattlesnake Ledge for hiking, or Snoqualmie for skiing from about December through April. You got city life, mountains, water, all sitting close together. Not many major cities can give you that mix. When we get to the business climate fact in a few minutes, you'll see why this is part of the reason companies still fight to be here. So stick around. What makes Seattle different is that the outdoors lifestyle is not only up in the mountains, it's built right into the city. Lake Washington and Lake Union sit right next to downtown. Both offer boating and swimming. Lake Washington runs along the east side with swimming beaches and waterfront homes. You'd be amazed how boating is a big part of our culture. And once you've experienced, you'll want to buy a boat, or better yet, just have friends with boats like I do. Lake Union is right in the center of Seattle. You've got kayaks, paddleboards, and sailboats. But there are some things you need to know. If you go to the Puget Sound, water is cold, sitting around 50 to 55 degrees even in summer. So if you're picturing warm, California-style beach life, it's not what Seattle gives you. The lakes do get warm though, which is why boating on the lakes is much more popular. The Pacific Ocean coastline is about 3 hours away, but the active lifestyle here in Seattle and surrounding is the major draw. Patagonia is basically office wear at major tech companies. Fleece vests are everywhere. People plan their weekends around trail reports and snow conditions, or boating weather if you're in the summer. So if that's your version of a good life, Seattle gives it to you in a way few places can. Now moving on to what it costs to maintain the home you live in while you enjoy it. Number 11, eating out and contractor costs are extremely high. The two line items are going to hit your Seattle budget harder than almost anything else. Restaurants and anyone you hire to work on your house. On the food side, Seattle restaurant prices run about 17% above the national average. Dinner for two, that might be $60, and a lot of American cities can turn into a $100 plus night here pretty fast. I still remember many years ago when it started, it felt like every dinner, even if not extravagant, was $100. My wife and I go, $100, $100, $100. It was proven time and time again. When it comes to home maintenance, this is where it gets painful. Handymen and regular contractors in Seattle can charge $100 to $150 an hour depending on skill and experience. Electricians can run $200 an hour or more, and service calls can start around $275. This is why the house you buy is important. So when you're walking through a house with me, we're looking at repair costs differently than you may be used to. The good news is I've spent years building a list of reasonably priced, trustworthy contractors. So my clients are not just calling the first electrician they find in Google. That brings us to the option most newcomers ask about. If everything is expensive, can you skip the car? The answer is yes, but let's talk about number 12. Public transit works, but only in pockets. Seattle Transit is excellent in some places, almost non-existent in others, and the line between those two is pretty sharp. The Link Light Rail and the streetcar serve the urban core well. You've got neighborhoods like Capitol Hill, the U District, South Lake Union, all with walk scores over 90. The areas are walkable, connected, and easier to live in without driving every day. I know plenty of people without cars. The catch is the suburbs are still car dependent. For Kirkland, Issaquah, and most single-family neighborhoods outside the urban core, you're going to need a car. Bus service exists, but if you're commuting every day, the schedule can make car-free living tough. So if you buy near a light rail station, transit is amazing. If you don't, plan on owning at least one car. Other options are you Uber to a bus station. Looking ahead, the West Seattle Link extension is projected to finish around 2032, and the Ballard Link extension, if it ever happens, would be 2039. The transit map is one of the most important maps you can study before buying here. It decides what daily life feels like. Next, pay attention to the Bellevue connection as it's tied to a bigger shift happening across the region, and it's the last thing you need to know before making this move. Number 13, we are seeing intense business climate shifts. Seattle and the East Side are moving in different directions when it comes to business, and that changes where jobs are landing across the metro. Some major business leaders have been clear about their concerns with Seattle. Howard Schultz, the chairman emeritus of Starbucks, wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed called "Seattle Turns Hostile to the Great Businesses It Made." He pointed to challenges downtown, budget pressure, less foot traffic, and slower hiring. Schultz, who has now moved to Miami, also noted that Starbucks is opening a $100 million hub in Tennessee, and he warned that other businesses could follow. He described Seattle's business ecosystem, the one that helped build Microsoft, Amazon, and Costco, as damaged. Now, Bellevue is cheaper for businesses to operate in, and that's part of why more companies are expanding on the East Side instead of Seattle proper. But the talent pool is still here, and companies still choose Seattle because of the people. And the AI boom is creating demand for the engineering talent that's already concentrated in this region. Half the talent likes to live in Seattle, others on the East Side. So many companies can't go wrong with a base in either. So both things are true. Business is moving east, and talent keeps pulling companies west. When you're choosing a neighborhood, pay close attention to where your specific industry is growing. After 15 years of helping families move into and out of Seattle, I can tell you the ones who stay all have something in common. They did the math on the hard part before they fell for the views. So if you're trying to figure out whether the city fits the way you live, email me at hello@mwagnerteam.com. I'll send you a personalized read on which side of the lake makes sense for your situation, so you're not wasting another weekend touring the wrong neighborhoods online. And the next video I've linked breaks down why the nice suburb assumption breaks down on the East Side, and it changes how every relocator should think about where to land. Check it out before you start touring neighborhoods. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.